Hi, I'm Aubrey.
And I'm Jeremy.
And this is the Tentacle Difficulties Podcast.
All right. Well, thanks for checking this podcast out. If this is your first time checking it out, welcome. If you're checking it out again after our first two episodes, welcome back. Thank you for sticking with us. We are going to cover kind of loosely and sloppily 8 different films today. And it's been an interesting last couple weeks for us. We ideally wanted to get this episode out a little closer to St. Patrick's Day, but we lost power during a blizzard for 2 days, and then we both got sick for about a week.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a rough patch. Sorry if we do end up coughing. We're going to try and edit that out.
Yeah, we'll try to limit our coughing that actually makes it to the final episode of this podcast. But we be coughing a little bit here because being sick sucks.
I do want to apologize for what this podcast is going to be about this month. It's my fault. I made the decision that we should watch all of the Leprechaun movies.
Well, I guess you can apologize to me, but I'm assuming a lot of other people listening to this haven't actually sat down and watched all 8 of these fucking movies. And truth be told, as we'll get into, I don't know if you really ever should.
Yeah, we did that for you, so you don't have to.
But yeah, I guess before we really get into all these fucking Leprechaun movies here, talk about a few other things we've been watching this month. I got this Vinegar Syndrome Lost Picture Show box set where it's like 10, quote, lost films, or at least like films that they thought were lost for fucking decades that they found some pretty, gnarly prints of and cleaned up and have released this box set. And there's some real weird shit on there that we've been watching.
Oh, my favorite. Is this the Rare Blue Apes of Cannibal Isle?
It's the Rare Blue Apes of Cannibal Isle.
I love that.
So one of those, is like a weird lost kids film called The Rare Blue Apes of Cannibal Isle, but it's like a real weird, trippy,
kind of psychedelic.
It's a really bizarre movie, and there's some also kind of not enjoyable things. There's maybe some kind of racist undertones to it, but
yeah,
I don't know. There's some weird stuff with some alligator people that they call swampies, and I don't know. It's
they're pirate alligators. They're my favorite thing. I love them. The songs were catchy, and they get stuck in my head.
But I don't know. I was thinking maybe sometime we can do an episode just about this fucking box set because there's so weird stuff. There's so much weird stuff on there. Like we watched this Red Midnight movie, and it's like a weird like nuclear scare propaganda kind of film.
That's the one by the optometrist.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
And then there's like. Yeah, the Las Vegas Strangler. That one was kind of interesting, actually.
Yeah.
It's like a black and white 60s set in Las Vegas, like kind of proto-slasher movie. But that one's kind of interesting, too. But I don't know. Yeah, the fucking Lost Picture Show from Vinegar Syndrome. It's they put it out for their 10-year anniversary. And there's some really weird stuff on there. I can completely understand why they didn't release this stuff as like individual films, because honestly I wouldn't want to pay like $25 for just one of these films, but as a whole box set where you get like 10 films plus an awesome documentary about finding these films and how they restore them and stuff like that, which is honestly probably the best thing in that whole box set to me. But I mean, you get like 11 feature-length films for like $80 or whatever, so it's not too bad in that box set.
Isn't there like a cool booklet and stuff in there too?
There's a couple booklets. Yeah.
I love the booklets. I like anything with little pictures. I have fun with that part.
Oh, we watch these weird Indonesian movies, Santet.
Oh, I love Santet.
And I will say that we got a box set also from Vinegar Syndrome where it's Santet 1 and 2, and they're like these 80s Indonesian films starring Susanna, which Susanna, I'm not sure. Yeah, Susanna, which is kind of like an Indonesian Scream Queen type thing, I guess I'm just now getting to learn about.
It's super fun. I didn't know that either.
But yeah, there's some real weird, like, I don't know, it's almost like Indonesian Fulci shit, but they're also technically like Bollywood movies, so there's weird musical numbers in them, but I don't know, there's some real gross, gnarly gore with
the eels coming out the legs.
Eels coming out of wounds on people's bodies, and
or when she's shedding the alligator skin as the witch is changing out of an alligator. Okay, maybe I love this movie because of the alligator.
The alligator woman, yeah. It's like an alligator lady with head with an alligator body, basically.
Yeah, but she's a witch. It's cool.
I mean, we watched the Joe Bob premiere, which was a tribute to Roger Corman, and we got to watch A Bucket of Blood, which was a fun movie from 1959 that Roger Corman directed.
Yeah, an artist that is hiding people in his sculptures. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, no, that was a fun movie, but yeah, I don't know. I've been sick and I've been watching a lot of other shit too. We watched Southern Comfort.
Oh yeah, a bunch of Cajuns that just get pissed that they stole their boats.
Well, it's like these military guys that are on some sort of military exercise and through like the swamps of Louisiana, and they stumble across these Cajuns that live out there, and they steal their boats and piss them off, and basically end up getting hunted by these Cajuns. It's a pretty fun movie.
I enjoyed it a lot, actually. That one was one of my favorite ones we've watched.
We're just kind of like suckers for like swamp movies, though.
Yeah.
Too, so
again, I have a theme there.
But yeah, I don't know. I guess. Well, I mean, this isn't a fun horror movie by any means, but I think Zone of Interest is kind of a fucking horror movie, and we got to finally see that.
Yeah, that one was really good. I did like that one a lot.
It's very, very heavy.
Very heavy.
Yeah, but yeah, Zone of Interest, not a feel-good movie by any means, but a very, I think, important movie and very fucking haunting.
Highly recommended.
For sure. But I guess let's get into the goofiness here. Let's get into our little green friend, the Leprechaun, and all 8 goddamn movies that exist about this leprechaun.
I come from the land of the Irish Spring. Dublin's the place where I learned my thing. From the Emerald Isle to your place in the hood, I'm the man of green, come to do no good. Lep in the hood, come to do no good. Lep in the hood, come to do no good. Blunt is dope, this place is hype. There's a lassie, she's just my type. I hate to resort so soon to marry. Haven't been late in so long, it's tragic. I'm so bad, I'm good.
So I wanted to watch these movies because I had never seen The Leprechaun. I thought it would be a funny, kind of like goofy kind of horror movie series from the clips that I had seen on TV flipping through the channels.
And we watch and enjoy a lot of really, quote, bad horror movies. But these are kind of a different thing. These kind of fall into a category of, I think some of them kind of want to be the like so bad they're good kind of thing, but they're just kind of not. And I don't know, they just don't have the same fucking charm to me as a lot of like the other like quote bad horror movies that we like.
I agree. It's almost like they take themselves too seriously in the wrong parts, but then they go too hard on dad jokes in the wrong parts. It never quite works the way they want. The gore never hits as hard as it should.
It gets better. There's a few entries in the series. You know, we'll get into all of them individually a little bit at least here. But it gets better, I think, as far as the gore goes, like later in the series. But yeah, there's a lot of shit that just could have been so much cooler than it actually is, and it just falls flat. It is disappointing, and like, yeah, the character, like they try really hard to make him like a quippy, like Freddy Krueger, Chucky, like kind of, you know, he's obviously a crazy killer, but he can also say jokes and be funny and witty, but a lot of it's just really poorly written.
Yeah. You can tell that they were trying to have some of it written in Limerick, which makes sense because leprechauns are supposed to speak in kind of riddles and limericks. But it doesn't always work well.
Yeah, we'll get into some of that a little more specifically here. But I mean, what we're trying to say is we're sorry if this is a series that is really dear to you, because we're kind of just not the biggest fans of them, as we found out on this journey.
Yeah, I'm glad I did this once, but I'll probably never do it again.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I may revisit a couple of these movies or just put it on in the background for shits and giggles. But yeah, these definitely don't have like the rewatchability of like a lot of my other like favorite like whole series of goofy 80s and 90s, horror movies.
I guess that's good, because the DVD that we bought doesn't work for half of them. We bought a box set.
Yeah, we bought a box set off Amazon for like $10 that had all 8 of the movies and DVDs, and like, yeah, they're obviously like have been sitting around in like warehouses for like decades that they're trying to just unload in a new package, I feel like, because like, man, there's so many of them that just freeze and skip. And so we ended up having to like, stream a lot of them anyway because they had fucking issues.
Which was funny, because if we had paid attention, all of them were streaming for free on one of the apps that we already have.
On the cock, as I call it, Peacock. The wrestling app, the fucking WWE app. That's why I have that primarily.
Yeah. I would say I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
So, yeah, I will say I don't entirely hate these movies, and unlike Aubrey, I have seen a few of these before. I've definitely seen Leprechaun in the Hood quite a bit. Just, I don't know. I had a friend I grew up with that, like, we rented it several times. I don't know why. We just found it fucking hilarious. But I will say the very first Leprechaun movie, although I don't like it that much, I don't think it's like very good or very rewatchable. It does have a kind of dear place in my heart, because from what I recall in my life, I think this is the very first uncut rated R movie I ever saw from start to finish that wasn't like edited for cable or something like that had stuff cut out of it. That being said, it is a pretty tame movie. I think it's maybe only rated R for like a little bit of language. It's not like, there's not even a lot of gore. There's no nudity in the first one. So, like, I don't know. It almost seems like it could be a PG-13 movie anyway. But regardless, I vividly remember renting this movie, which probably would have been, I would say, in 1993 at some point, because that's when the movie came out here in the U.S. The very first Leprechaun came out January 8th, 1993, to a theatrical release, and only the first 2 movies of the franchise even had. Actually, that's not true. There is a third movie in the franchise that had a theatrical release, but very, very briefly. But anyway, it had to have been sometime in 1993 where I went up to spend a weekend with my cousins in Greeley, Colorado, which I did, every few months as a kid. And we went to the video store, and I definitely remember seeing this movie in the new release section. And me and my 3 actual female cousins, who were probably, there's one right around the same age as me, so probably about 7 or 8, and there's one a couple years older, and there's one like a year younger. But we saw this Leprechaun movie, and we're like, oh, we got to rent this. And we begged their parents to let us rent the Leprechaun movie. And we rented it, and we watched it in their basement that night, and I had a pretty good time watching it. It did kind of creep me out a little bit when I was a very little kid, the image of the leprechaun. Like, I found him a little scary, but not too scary.
I can understand for that age group. I can understand for when you saw it for the first time.
Well, I remember after I saw the movie and I went back home to my parents' house, there was a shadow in the basement that for whatever reason, it looked like Leprechaun. It looked like a top hat with some like little pointy ears sticking out from under it. And I remember like turning off the lights and running upstairs as fast as I could because it looked like the leprechaun when I started to turn off the lights.
I think we all had a spot in our house that had something creepy in the corner that looked like something to us.
But yeah, I mean, from my memory, this is the very first like movie I saw front to back that was rated R. It was a horror movie that was not cut or, you know, nothing edited out of it. Not that really anything needed to be edited out of this one in particular. But I remember we watched this movie, and then right after it, when we were making some more popcorn, having a good time. None of us were too freaked out by the Leprechaun. It was kind of silly, but kind of scary. I do think it was kind of a good gateway horror film for, kids of the early to mid 90s. But then I remember we watched Pet Sematary 2 immediately after that, and that movie fucked me up.
That makes sense. That one would fuck you up.
I just rewatched that movie last October for the first time since I was like a little kid, and I don't think it's like particularly good, but like I will say it is fucked up, and it's like a really fucking mean-spirited movie. But yeah, anyway, Pet Sematary 2 I watched on the same night as the original Leprechaun, and that movie definitely scared the shit out of me versus Leprechaun didn't.
Yeah, I can see why that was a good gateway movie for you.
Yeah, that's my history with the original Leprechaun, and I got a little sidetracked just because I do, like I said, I vividly remember watching Pet Sematary 2 that same exact night too, and but yeah, I saw a couple other of these movies. Like I don't know if I ever saw the second one. I think I did see the third one, at least just out of curiosity. Actually, at that same cousin's house a few years later, I think I rented that same movie and remember watching it in just like an afternoon, and it was still bright and sunny. But I don't know if I'd seen any other ones other than Leprechaun in the Hood, the original Leprechaun, and that third one.
I think they were played a lot on the Sci-Fi Channel for a few years.
They definitely were, yeah.
And the Sci-Fi Channel was always on at my house.
Well, don't forget the most recent one, which we'll get to, was actually like a sci-fi movie. So that totally makes sense.
Yeah, my family and the Sci-Fi Channel, that's pretty much all that my dad watches.
But I guess we should just get into everything here. And we're probably going to bounce around quite a bit around this whole fucking series because I don't really care too much, truth be told.
Yeah, we're just going to get through it like we tried to get through the movies.
Yeah, and I mean, I will say there was a lot of weed smoked when we were watching these movies because I don't know how the fuck else I would have got through all of the rest of them.
There is no way. There is absolutely no way.
So yeah, substances definitely help get through these movies, but it still doesn't make them great. Don't get that wrong.
No.
I guess I will say just about the whole series in general, I think my main kind of problem with them is I think they're more just like bad comedies than bad horror movies.
That makes sense to me. That makes total sense to me.
And I think it's just like a lot of them, like I think the writing is just really kind of bad in a lot of them, and just like the jokes that they try to put in there, they just all fucking fall flat.
It feels lazy.
It does feel pretty lazy. I will say one of the bright spots of the series is just Warwick Davis.
Yeah,
in particular.
Warwick Davis brings a lot to any character, and he makes it enjoyable.
And I mean, Warwick Davis, I mean, he's in everything. He's in fucking Star Wars and Willow and Harry Potter, and often playing multiple characters in them.
Willow is scarier than the Leprechaun.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Willow is terrifying.
Way better movie, too. But yeah.
Anyway.
But like, I will say, like, Warwick Davis, like, he's really good with what he is asked to do in this series. Like he does everything he can to get this character across, and just with the kind of poorly written material he was given to work with, like he really is he is good. I have no gripes at all with Warwick Davis.
His delivery is spot on. It's the writing was terrible.
The writing, the direction, the acting, the everything.
I would say Jennifer Aniston's acting's not bad. She was pretty good.
And the first, So, I think a lot of people probably, know about the first Leprechaun, which it had its United States theatrical release on January 8th, 1993. It was directed by Mark Jones. The only other movie I really know of that guy directed is that there's a shitty Rumpelstiltskin movie from 1995 that I saw one time and didn't like even when I was at that age.
I don't think I could ever watch that. Rumpelstiltskin was one of my favorite stories growing up. My grandpa would tell that story to us all the time.
I showed you that picture of it earlier.
Yeah, anything that would ruin that story, I'm not going to watch. So I'm just not going to touch that one.
But I mean, the very first Leprechaun is a very early starring role for Jennifer Aniston. This is like a couple years, I think, before Friends, because this was filmed in like 1992, and I think when I was looking into it, I think I saw Friends started in like 94 or something like that.
I think so. I
don't know. I'm not a Friends expert. I actually really don't fucking like Friends. I never have. But
no, it's just a bunch of people with a big apartment in New York. Didn't seem that fun to me.
And I guess like really one of the only things you really need to know about all these movies is they pretty much just all involve a murderous leprechaun trying to go after people who have stolen either a portion of or all of his gold.
Yep, because leprechauns are all about human greed. That's the whole lore of them.
Yeah, so this very first leprechaun, Jennifer Aniston's character, she's going to spend time with her dad. She normally lives with her mom, I think, in Los Angeles, and she goes with her dad to North Dakota. I think it's North Dakota.
Yeah, it's North Dakota.
And she's very upset that it's not Los Angeles.
Yeah, as they're driving there, she's like, where are we? Why are we in New Mexico? And her dad's like, no, it's North Dakota.
And it's like, whatever, it's not Los Angeles.
She's such a grump about it. The house is like falling apart, so she starts trying to call for a hotel room or something in town. And then she crashes into a cute boy.
But yeah. So yeah, Jennifer Aniston, she goes to stay with her dad who bought this like old house and they're fixing it up and somewhere in North Dakota. But little do they know that inside that house is a crate in like this cellar crawl space dingy basement. And inside that crate, there is a fucking leprechaun.
Yeah, he's trapped in because there's a 4-leaf clover dried on top.
And that's the one thing that prevents him from getting out. But that 4-leaf clover gets easily swept onto the ground, and then Leprechaun comes back. Some kids find his gold and steal said gold, and all hell breaks loose as the murderous Leprechaun tries to recover his shillings.
Honestly, I don't remember any kills. I just remember a lot of running around.
Oh, man. So this first Leprechaun in particular, what I remember about it, there's a whole lot of just like really poorly directed and edited sequences where like there's a lot of like instead of better editing when you're watching the leprechaun get from point A to point B, they just do that thing where they just speed up the film.
Yeah.
And so he's just moving at like 2 times the speed or whatever, going through this super long corridor rather than just like actually cutting some of it out of there. And but yeah, there's like a scene where he's like riding around on the tricycle where it does the same thing where it's like it focuses on him for so long that they just have to speed up the film. Like it's so fucking cheesy. It's stupid.
Yeah, it really makes it more into a comedy than anything else in that situation. Cartoon effect.
And again, like they really wanted this character, I think. Like they're this is early 90s where they're filming this and this is coming out like, kind of past the prime, honestly, of like the, the 80s slasher booms and all those franchises, but they still like wanted this character to be like they wanted them to be like a Freddy Krueger, like a Chucky, somebody who has this murderous, violent side, but also has a bunch of, funny one-liners. But again, like it just all falls fucking flat because the writing is just bad on all of these.
Yeah, I don't remember any of them, so that... If they're not memorable, they're not good one-liners.
I don't know, but I mean, I guess they are kind of meant to be horror comedies. They don't take themselves too seriously, but I don't know. There's a lot of goofy, like slapstick kind of like Looney Tunes stuff in the first one. Like I know there's like a section where like the leprechaun like runs through a white fence and it's just like, you see the shape outline of the leprechaun through it. And then I know like... It's pretty bizarre. Like I know at the end they just like kill the leprechaun because he's just like they throw him in this well.
They put him down the well and then they pour the gasoline on top and then it blows up.
They just pour gasoline down there and like throw a match or whatever and it blows up. And we should mention the leprechaun gets blown up a lot.
Like every movie. Yeah, well, not every movie.
Almost every movie I think he gets like blown to pieces in. He definitely like gets blown up a lot.
Somehow he keeps coming back though.
Like I remember like, oh yeah, there's another stupid thing. So like with the people who find the pot of gold, it's like this guy who's a painter and he has this like super young kid who like works with him or whatever. I just remember that like the kid's kind of a little asshole. Like
yeah,
he's always called the guy stupid or something. And like when they find the pot of gold, the kid literally says like, now we can afford to make you smart.
Yeah, he's such a little dick. I hate that kid.
But yeah, I don't know.
That guy's name is Ozzy.
Yeah, there's not even really any like memorable like kills or like good gore or anything like that. It's just kind of a goofy bad movie. I don't know. Well, again, when I first saw this and I was 7 or 8 years old or however I was, in 1993, it was more entertaining than it is now for sure.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that. I don't regret watching the first one. The first one was okay. There are some of them that I'm like, I don't want to watch this ever again, please.
Although I will say, like, after I saw Leprechaun Returns, it kind of made me like the first one slightly more, but we'll get into that too.
Yeah.
But I guess, yeah, so Leprechaun 1 we watched. Leprechaun 2, which came out, it also had a theatrical release April 8th, 1984. This is the
94?
Theatrical release April 8th, 1994. This is the last one to be released in theaters until Leprechaun Origins in 2014. Leprechaun 2 is directed by Rodman Flender. Can't tell you who that was.
He has been seen by over 900 million people. He has caused a storm of excitement in theaters and video stores across America. And now, after scaring America to death in 1993, he's about to do it again.
I'm back.
Leprechaun 2. Coming to video cassette, August 31st, 1994.
I will say this one at least has some like better, like more creative and more fun kind of kills in it.
Yeah, it definitely has more creative kills in it. I don't think it ties in completely to the first one. You don't have to watch the first one and the second one in order.
No, not at all. But yeah, I don't know. There's a good, like, I remember there's like a coffee shop kind of kill where like it's like an espresso, like a steamer.
Oh yeah, the coffee steamer kill.
Excuse my coughing. Yeah, he like steams a guy's face with like a steamer. It was kind of silly and cool. We do get to see some nudity in this one. There's some boobs, and it's very clearly a body double, because you never see the actress's head and the boobs in the same shot.
That's true. There are some boobs, and not in the same shot. That was pretty funny.
Leprechaun 2 actually is a St. Patrick's Day movie. I think this is the only one that's actually like a St. Patrick's Day movie.
Yeah, which is kind of funny that it came out right after. But yeah, this one is supposed to take place at St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, they missed the window. Yeah, it came out, coming out April 8th. Yeah, they would have definitely missed the window by a week or two, a couple weeks there for St. Patrick's Day.
I do want that guy's job.
What guy?
The main character.
Oh, yeah, the main character in Leprechaun 2, yeah.
He has this job where he goes and drives around a hearse and collects people and does tours of Los Angeles to show where people died, like famous people and stuff.
Yeah, it's one of those type tours. So, yeah, that's right. So, Leprechaun 2, no, we're no longer in North Dakota. We are back in Los Angeles, where Jennifer Aniston from the first movie would have been very happy, but she's not in this movie.
And we don't talk about her at all. She's not a part of this world.
Nope, she's not a part of this world at all. Is this the one where, like, is this the first appearance of the statue leprechaun?
Yes, I believe this is the first appearance of the statue leprechaun with the medallion on top of it.
So that's one thing we should say about these movies is, like, the lore of, like, the leprechaun and, like, the rules of the leprechaun is all over the fucking place in this whole series.
Yeah, we tried to do some research on leprechauns to see if some of this stuff took place was real or not. We could not find anything factual. We were like, this is really kind of, okay.
So this is the first time that we see the leprechaun as, like, he's like a statue, but, like, he has this, like, amulet that's, like, he wears around his neck, and apparently that is what makes him, like, turn to stone or whatever. And when that amulet is removed, the leprechaun comes back to life. And we see this in a few of the other movies too, like Leprechaun in the Hood. We definitely see this same thing happen again.
Now, I can't find anything on any of the websites that I read about leprechaun lore that says that there's an amulet that turns them to stone. Nothing says that in leprechaun lore. So
yeah, I can't see that either. And so I think, like, that's the kind of the main thing they're looking for here is they always want that amulet to turn him back to stone. But I know in, like, some of the other movies, they say his, like, the only thing that can harm him is a 4-leaf clover. I know that's the case with the first one.
Yeah, it gets a little bit weird. I don't understand how you would get rid of a leprechaun.
Yeah, I don't know. And then the rules in this franchise, like, there's no consistency. Like, it's all over the fucking place, as we've already said.
Well, in the second one, isn't it that they find it at the bottom of, like, a root of a tree outside of a like abandoned house.
Something like that. I don't know. I can't remember the details of this one. Honestly, I have a hard time remembering this, like the details about this one more than the others for some reason.
So on this one, I do remember that they find the leprechaun. The leprechaun wakes up and then he's like, oh, that's my bride. I want to marry this girl. Because 1,000 years before, he was trying to marry this girl by trying to make her sneeze 3 times.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And like if she
he like
sneezed,
blew pollen at her to make her sneeze 3 times.
right.
Yeah.
If she sneezed 3 times and nobody said, God bless you, then he had a wife.
That's right.
But somebody said, God bless you. And so he was like, I'm going to go after your great, 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 great granddaughter, and I'm going to marry her.
And he does. He has her like held captive in his little like weird leprechaun lair for like pretty much the whole movie, right?
Well, he abducts her because that's
that's
the guy who has the Tor's girlfriend.
The hearse tour. Yeah, it's his girlfriend. But yeah, she gets abducted by the leprechaun and held captive in his little leprechaun cave pretty much the whole movie.
Yeah, so he's got to go find her. And somehow the person who owns the Death Tour company ends up in some of these shenanigans with him. He takes his boss along. And his boss is kind of greedy and drunk.
Oh, speaking of drunk, we do get drunk leprechaun in this movie.
Yeah, he drinks it with the leprechaun. They're trying to drink each other under to the table.
Yep, there is a scene. Yeah, her leprechaun is at a drinking contest, and I think the drunk leprechaun is kind of funny. I kind of enjoyed that.
Yeah, that one is funny. And all the leprechauns are sitting around, and they're like, "Yeah, he's one of us."
Because yeah, it's St. Patrick's Day, so there actually are a lot of other like little people dressed as leprechauns and stuff. So the leprechaun doesn't seem as out of place as he normally would if he was just chilling in a fucking pub.
Right. Sorry, this is us trying to piece together this movie as well for you.
Yeah, we're still trying to piece this shit together. I think like my mind is kind of intentionally just blocked some of this shit out because they're like, this is dumb. You don't need this in your brain.
Yeah, please move on.
But oh yeah, this is the one that had like the music that seemed like a blatant like ripoff of The Cure, like a bargain basement.
Yeah,
Cure
the
song.
like weird. There was a Cure one and like an alternative '90s alt rock kind of thing. I don't know what kind of band it sounded like, but the songs were kind of funny. You could tell they were ripping off the music of the time.
Definitely. But I don't know. I don't have much else to say about Leprechaun 2. So yeah, I mean, like I said, that one's from 1994, taking place in Los Angeles. We are going to leave Los Angeles and go just a little bit east of there to the promised land of greed known as Las Vegas for Leprechaun 3.
Yeah, Leprechaun 3, Las Vegas. He meets Elvis in this one.
He does. Well, he meets an Elvis impersonator in this one, but yeah, Leprechaun 3. It takes place in Las Vegas. This was the first of the direct-to-video Leprechauns. This one came out on June 27th, 1995. Straight up into a Blockbuster video, where I'm sure that's where I got it at the time. This is directed by Brian Trenchard Smith, which is an Australian director. And I think I listened to a podcast recently about Ozploitation movies, and there's a movie on my list. I think it's called The Man from Hong Kong that this guy directed that I really want to watch, which I found fucking interesting.
Was it this one or the one before this that had the Fast and Furious moment?
Oh, that was the one before that. He gets in like a go-kart and the one before that.
Yeah.
So yeah, he does go Fast and Furious.
Sorry.
Damn, we forgot about that.
I know. Sorry, I had to go back. I had to rewind. Fast and Furious.
But we did forget about Fast and Furious Leprechaun.
Okay.
But,
So that was in 2, not 3.
but anyway, Leprechaun 3, directed by Australian director Brian Trenchard Smith. This is actually the only director to direct more than one of these Leprechaun movies. This guy directs this one and also the next one, Leprechaun in Space, but all the other ones are directed by completely different people.
Oh, really?
Yep. But yeah, this guy directed 2 of these movies.
Ooh.
So he's an auteur of the Leprechaun films, I guess.
So he did the one that I like, probably one of the better, and then one that I really don't like.
Yeah, basically. But I don't know. Leprechaun, I kind of like the Leprechaun in Las Vegas. Like, there's some just goofy shit. Like Aubrey already said, he runs into an Elvis impersonator and he does his own Elvis impression, and he's like, "Hey, that was pretty good."
Isn't this the one where one of the guys gets bit?
Yes. And so that's another thing about the fucking Leprechaun lore is there's a guy in this movie that gets bit by the Leprechaun, And this happens in the other movies before this as well. But for whatever reason, when this guy gets bit, he starts to turn into a leprechaun, like a fucking werewolf type thing.
Yeah, what were you calling it?
The lepinthrope.
A lepinthrope?
I don't know. But there's definitely a lot of people that are bitten by the leprechaun in a lot of these other movies. But for whatever reason, from my memory, this is the only guy that starts to turn into a leprechaun after he's bit.
Yeah, I'm kind of thrown off by that. I could not find anything that said that that's how you leprechauns are
I
made.
found nothing in leprechaun lore that says they bite people and turn people into other leprechauns. Like I said, like fucking werewolves or vampires or zombies or something.
So don't worry. A leprechaun is probably not going to turn you into a leprechaun by biting you.
But yeah, I mean, so the leprechaun, he loves Las Vegas just because he just straight up says he loves the greed of it, which makes sense. I know that there is I think it's the same guy that gets bit because that's like the main protagonist in the movie, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's the same guy that he has one of the fucking leprechaun's gold coins because it's giving him this good luck at the casinos that he's winning all this money as long as he has the fucking coin. But of course the leprechaun's pissed off that he has his precious coin.
Yeah, that's right. He has the coin and so he's gambling and he keeps winning and winning and winning and winning and winning. Yeah.
But he's also slowly turning into a weird were-leprechaun, and the leprechaun also wants his fucking shilling back.
Yeah, that's a lot of that movie is just chasing him around trying to get that coin back. There's pawn shops involved.
Yeah, there's a pawn shop involved.
I don't remember much more.
I don't even remember.
Don't they trap him in a safe?
I do think they trap him in a safe because that's
'Cause
right.
it's cast iron.
It's an iron safe. And that's another one of the weaknesses is wrought iron.
And that is in the lore.
That actually is true leprechaun lore. So yeah, 4-leaf clovers, wrought iron. Apparently in this film franchise, a weird amulet that turns him to stone sometimes. I don't know. It depends on which fucking installment of this series you're watching. But I don't know. Leprechaun in Vegas, I just like the setting. I like the fact this one kind of did lean into I think it did lean into its straight to video-ness, if I could say that. It leans into not taking itself maybe as seriously as the previous ones. And I do think we do start to see a little bit of better gore and stuff like that instead of just scenes that could be really cool but just kind of fall flat. But I don't know. It's a kind of fun watch. It's
fun. That's about where I'd leave that one. I don't have much more to say on it, honestly, because I don't remember a whole lot.
Same. But yeah, that's Leprechaun 3 from 1995. We would have to wait all the way until February 25th, 1997 to see the next installment in the series, where Leprechaun 4 in Space.
I think we could have waited the rest of our lives. Maybe just never seen it.
Small though I am, mighty is my spirit when bloody battle calls. Come at me with what you will. Shoot me. Stab me. Kill me 100 ways.
Take this bastard out!
Still I fight on. I am 1,000 demons from hell. Hot stuff coming up. I am eternal as the sun. This barbecue's only just begun.
But yeah, February 25th, 1997, we got Leprechaun in Space straight to a video store near you. Once again, like I said, this is directed also by Brian Trenchard Smith, the only repeat director in the series. What do I remember about this movie? Shitty bro Marines. That's the first note I have written down.
Yeah, it's shitty bro Marines. All of the things that they say is very yeah, because we're Marines.
We're Marines, soldier. Yeah, it's very cookie cutter, stereotypical, dumb, oorah, bro space Marines.
There's a prosthetic on the guy who is obviously in charge where it's supposed to be he has half his head is a metal plate. He's been through everything. They're gruff guys.
Yeah. And but yeah, Leprechaun, I don't know how Leprechaun ends up in space exactly, but we get a whole lot of really bad CGI in this, spaceships and stuff flying around.
The set design is awful.
It's really, really the worst 90s CD-ROM space flight simulator type CGI in this movie.
Oh, it looks worse than like the early computer Oh, it's so bad.
It's really, really bad CGI. But yeah, somehow you're following around this group of like space marine soldier type people, and there is a fucking planet they end up on that apparently now the leprechaun has his own fucking whole planet, apparently.
And it's made of gold. And he has a princess from another planet trapped there with him.
Inside his little leprechaun lair, because again, he's inside his little leprechaun lair, but now it's on this planet. So apparently there's a full leprechaun planet where he has this lair and has this space princess kidnapped or what the fuck ever's going on here.
Yeah, and the Marines are hunting him. And so they end up on the planet and they blow him up again.
They blow him to pieces, just like they do in a lot of this movie. They love blowing the fuck out of the leprechaun.
So anyway, this is one of Jeremy's favorite parts of the whole movie. The leprechaun's blown up, and one of the Marines goes up and just starts pissing all over his body parts.
Yep, he's pissing on the remains of the leprechaun. And then in some really bad 90s CGI fashion, there's like a weird little like space laser thing that happens as the soldier is peeing on the leprechaun, and something happens. And you can tell there's some sort of spirit or essence of the leprechaun that has apparently gone into this soldier through his pee and his wang.
Yeah.
Can't make this up. And so literally this leads to a little later in the movie, this guy basically gives birth to the fucking leprechaun out his ween.
Yeah, he does. He's being seduced by one of the other girls on the ship because apparently the women on the ship are only there to look attractive.
The like two women that are there or whatever.
Two.
Yeah.
One is a doctor and one is, I don't know.
Just general space hottie.
Just general space hottie. So, they're doing their tomfoolery in one of the sections of the back areas of the ship.
Yeah.
And he births the leprechaun out his.
Well, as he's aroused, he starts to have some sort of pain or something, and like I said, he literally like gives birth to the leprechaun and like explodes it out his dick
and dies.
And I mean, there's like, after this happens, there's a conversation between the woman who was with him and like their, higher ranking soldier, like officer. And she was just like, she says like, oh, I can't help but feeling like it was my fault. I'm the one who gave him a boner.
That's how he would have wanted it. He's a Marine.
Yeah, the guy literally says, he's like, well, that's how he would have wanted it. He would have wanted it that way. He's a Marine. You can't make this shit up. It's, man.
At one point, that same commander leader guy as a stupid trope. I don't know how. I don't remember how this happens, but they make him dress up in drag.
Oh, yeah. I don't know why they did that either.
It doesn't make sense. It has no point to the movie. I don't really understand it. They did a lot of stupid things that just don't make sense.
A lot of stupid things that don't make sense. There's a goofy scene where like I feel like there's like a cookie sheet or like a pizza pan looking thing, and like they smash a guy's face with it, and it just ends up like a guy's face is just super like round and flat.
Right? I guess this one is the one that is just so absurd that it becomes funny.
Yeah.
But
Kinda.
I would say this is background noise stuff. This is not to give your attention to.
No. I do know the leprechaun gets blown up in size. Like my note, I just wrote "Honey blows up the leprechaun," but like, yeah, they blow him up in size at one point of that. And remember, he like looks into his pants to make sure, and he says something to the extent of like, "Oh, everything's proportional," or like something stupid, like
something like that. There's a lot of little jokes about his wang throughout the whole series.
I also, there are a lot of weird jokes about, how, he's 3'6", but he makes up for it in other areas.
Yeah,
like stupid shit like
stuff
that.
Like that.
He has a lightsaber at one point in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty fucking crazy. And he only has it in that like one scene too. I don't think it ever fucking comes back.
No, it's only that one scene.
So weird. They're just like, all right, we gotta put a lightsaber in at least one scene, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck this movie's about. My God.
I don't even remember how it ends now.
I don't remember really the specifics of how most of these fucking things end. All the details are blurring together because, again, they're not great movies. They're not the worst movies I've ever seen. Well, maybe one is among some of the worst things I've ever seen. But, like, again, they're not fucking that great.
I think the fifth one might be one of my favorites, though.
I'm a wee green guy who's new to town. Show me what you do when you get down. I'll go up, you go down. We'll cause a scene, you'll love the three. Left in the hood, come to do no good. Left in the hood, when we're bad, we're good. From the cliffs of Moor to your front door, better turn up the lights and pray some more. We're gonna party through the night until the dawn. Then you and I are gonna get it on. Left in the hood, come to do no good. Left in the hood, come to do no good.
Yes, Leprechaun 5. Leprechaun in the Hood.
Yes. Lep in the hood come to do no good.
Lep in the Hood come to do no good. So yeah, if you've been watching all these movies and you're like, yeah, I don't know, these are okay, but I really wish the Leprechaun would start rapping. Well, that's what you're going to get if you made it to part 5.
Yeah, you get to see that and Ice-T.
Ice-T stars in this movie. He plays a character, I believe his name is Mac Daddy.
Yeah, and you start this movie out in the 1970s.
You do. You see a young Mac Daddy with an afro.
And he's breaking into this spot because he's obviously looking for some gold. And he's looking for a specific thing. He's looking for an item.
And he finds a magical gold flute. But the thing he doesn't know is that flute belongs to...
the Leprechaun.
Sure as fuck does.
You see a whole lot of massacre, something takes place, and then you move on forward to modern day.
So yeah, Leprechaun in the Hood, this came out March 28th in the year 2000, directed by Rob Spera. Yeah, I don't know what to say about this movie, except I've seen this a lot because, as I mentioned earlier in the podcast, I had a friend I grew up with, and for whatever reason, this movie just really tickled our fancy when it came out. We thought it was pretty fucking hilarious, and we watched it over and over, and we never thought it was a good movie, but we found it comical at least. And I will say this is probably when the franchise, at least for me, finally gets into that like kind of so bad it's almost good or at least enjoyable territory.
I mean, you get a leprechaun smoking weed.
You do get the leprechaun smoking weed in this. You get a rapping leprechaun. You get leprechaun smoking weed. You get some real outdated rap.
So outdated.
Because this movie came out, like I said, in the year 2000, so it was probably filmed in like 99, but like the rap style in it seems really like late 80s, early 90s, and like really out of fucking place.
Like 1992 kind of rap.
So this is another one of the movies where the leprechaun is a statue and has like an amulet it wears around its neck, and as soon as that amulet's removed, it comes back to life. As we mentioned, there's a few movies that have that kind of thing come into play.
Well, there's these young kids who want to have a rap game, and they try and get Mac Daddy to help them out, and when they're at his office, they notice he has a lot of gold and shit. So they decide that they're going to go rob him later.
And that's all the shit that he took back in the 1970s at the beginning of the movie and like the cold open we were talking about.
Yeah, so he goes. These kids go in there and they shoot everything up. They think that they killed Mac Daddy.
They do think they killed Mac Daddy, but he had some sort of necklace or something he was wearing that protected him, right?
Yeah, it like the bullet hits like one of the gold shillings or something like that.
Yeah.
Like there's something that protects him. I don't remember exactly what. So they go in, they steal everything, and they steal the gold amulet off the leprechaun statue because it's gold. And they're like, we got to take this. And so it releases the leprechaun.
And they have no idea what they unleashed. And as soon as Mac Daddy comes back and assesses the situation, he realizes that those kids done fucked up and released the leprechaun.
And stole his gold flute.
And the gold flute, which apparently the gold flute is what made Mac Daddy become a superstar of the music industry.
It made everybody think he was actually good.
And these kids, the main three the kids in this movie we're talking about who robbed, this Ice-T character, Mac Daddy, they're called Butch, Postmaster P, and Stray Bullet, and they have a rap group, but they're all about spreading positive messages through their rap.
Yeah.
Which is why Mac Daddy doesn't want to help them, because he sees rap as just being about the streets and you got to, sing about the street life and the hardships. But they don't like that. Particularly Postmaster P, the kind of leader of the group, doesn't like that because the P in Postmaster P, Aubrey, stands for positivity.
Because he's delivering that positivity.
But basically, the other two people that Postmaster P is in this rap group with start to give in and we should be singing about the streets if we want to be rich and famous, and we gotta rob people, and we gotta live that life if we want our rap careers to take off. And so that's how they get involved with the fucking murderous leprechaun. And boy, there's a lot of weird shit that happens in this movie. Yes, as we mentioned, the leprechaun does smoke weed. He comes across Ice-T in the fucking bathroom smoking some weed, and he says something like, curious aroma. And he gives him a hit of some weed that he calls the bomb, I believe.
Yeah, he does say the bomb. It's so stupid.
And later in the movie, they try to use leprechauns, for smoking weed against him too, because they try to fucking put some 4-leaf clovers in a joint and he smokes it and it knocks him out. Remember that?
Yeah, he gets knocked out with some 4-leaf clover weed.
There's some cool kind of gore in this. He makes a lot of people's hearts explode out of their chests kind of thing. I think that's kind of funny.
Oh yeah, because he gets his powers back, so he's doing all sorts of weird things.
Yeah. But man, Leprechaun in the Hood, there's so many fucking weird things about this movie. I will say there are some kind of problematic things about it. There's a little bit of kind of gross transphobic stuff at one point in the movie. I'll warn you about that.
Yeah.
There also, I will say, this also does feel like a very white depiction of, quote, the hood.
Yes, that is accurate.
So, yeah, I don't know, man. But this movie is just so fucking bonkers, and just the idea of it, of a rapping leprechaun who's going after a rap group. It is at least fun. It's an enjoyable movie to watch. The leprechaun is using the flute or something to seduce all kinds of women that he calls zombie fly girls.
Yeah, and they dance around behind him. They have glowing green eyes and gold outfits.
And they're trying to and they try to bring other ladies to him to be other zombie fly girls. I don't know what the fuck's going on there. And this is not something you see in any of the other movies either. And I don't even think Leprechaun Back to the Hood you see this again, do you?
No, you don't.
I don't know.
They use those zombie fly girls to seduce a priest or a pastor.
Oh, yeah, they do something like that, too.
Yeah.
I don't know. This movie is just so fucking weird. I know. I remember there's an old white guy that tries to give the kids a record deal at one point, and he says he's with Dope Disc Productions. And he's this old white guy who has a record label, and he tells them, he's down.
Yeah. down with the sickness.
But yeah, if you've never seen Leprechaun Part 5 in the Hood, you're not missing a master class in, artful cinema by any means. But I will say it is just entertaining with how fucking absurd this movie is. And yeah, fucking 14, 13-year-old me when this first came out thought rapping Leprechaun was the fucking funniest shit ever.
This is one I will watch again.
Yeah, it probably would be, a fun one. Just throw out around St. Patrick's Day while you're pounding some beers or whatever.
Yeah, getting high,
exactly.
Doing the thing that I do.
I will say Leprechaun Back to the Hood is not nearly as memorable. This one came out, I guess, about 3 years after Leprechaun in the Hood. Leprechaun Back to the Hood came out December 30th, 2003, and directed by Stephen Oriam-Louis. I don't even know how to fucking say this guy's name. Louis. I don't know. I should just stop.
I don't know. Don't even try.
But I guess Leprechaun Back to the Hood, everything that I was saying about Leprechaun in the Hood, where it doesn't take itself too seriously and it finally kind of is that so bad it's good territory. I will say Leprechaun Back to the Hood just kind of throws that out the fucking window.
You know what I kind of like about this one that I didn't think about before?
What?
This is the first one where I feel like the girls are the greedy ones. It's not just the leprechaun trying to seek them out for like marriage or anything like that.
Yeah, it is true. I guess that one is like the main protagonists in this movie is like a group of girls. I guess that's different.
Yeah. Sorry, first time that had happened in one of the movies, and I didn't think about it before.
But yeah, I don't know why. Like this one, Leprechaun in the Hood, it doesn't take itself seriously at all. It totally is in on the joke, but I feel like Leprechaun Back to the Hood tries to kind of take it too seriously, and it really falls flat.
Yeah, you almost don't see the leprechaun for half the movie.
There's some cool like kills in it at least, but just like the story overall, I felt is just like really boring, and it felt like it felt like it was a lot longer than it was to me.
Yeah, is this the one with the bong killing?
This is the one. Death by bong is one of my notes here. And yeah, he impales somebody with a bong in this movie. And it's not like a broken bong or anything like you'd think. It's just like a dull-ass normal bong that he somehow shoves through somebody.
He's just got such immense power in that tiny little body.
He also takes an electric, Jesus Christ, what am I saying? an electric razor to somebody's eye. So he has the leprechaun moment. He has his Fulci eye trauma moment finally here. So that's what I said. He gets the Lucio Fulci Award for best eye trauma in a franchise goes to Leprechaun Back to the Hood for the electric razor to the eye scene.
Yes.
He rips off a cop's leg. That's pretty funny.
Oh, yeah. The cop leg getting ripped off is pretty good.
I know there's like a part where he's like on the underside of a car with hydraulics that's bouncing around, and he somehow like rips through the underside of the car too. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, that one.
Oh, this is the one, that quote I brought up earlier where he says he's about 3'6", but I make up for it in other areas. That's what this movie is where that line comes from.
Yeah.
Oh, they use to try to kill the leprechaun in this one. I do have a note here that they used 4-leaf clovers and they tried to put them in the hollow tip bullets.
Yeah, but that doesn't work either because the only thing that you can use against a leprechaun is a bribe.
Yeah, not 4-leaf clover hollow tip bullets, but God, while they're making those bullets, I think there's literally a quote. The guy's like, "Time to fuck up some little people."
Oh no! Terrible, terrible, terrible.
God damn it. But yeah, I don't know. Leprechaun Back to the Hood, not as memorable as the original Leprechaun in the Hood. Plus, it doesn't have Ice-T. And I will say that, like, I do think Ice-T is pretty fucking good in the first, like, Leprechaun in the Hood. And honestly, like, the 3 kids in the first Leprechaun in the Hood,
they're pretty good.
Yeah, they're pretty fucking good, too. I do think they might be maybe my favorite group of, like, main characters in any of these movies. But yeah, the second one's different is when it's girls. I like that. That's cool at least. But there's also like when he goes back to the Hood, there's also like an older lady who's trying to like warn them about the leprechaun basically in Back to the Hood. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah, vaguely.
It's like she's like an older, like I don't want to say like a witch, but you know, it's kind of like a character like that who's like knowledgeable and like supernatural, like
because she goes
stuff.
It's because one of them likes to go to the psychic to get her palms read and stuff like that. That's right. Yeah. I forgot all about that.
But yeah, I guess the last notable thing I will say about Leprechaun Back to the Hood is this is the last appearance of Warwick Davis as the Leprechaun. And again, I will say, like, I don't think this whole series is great. They're not for me. This doesn't really hold as special of a place in my heart as a lot of other horror franchises from my childhood. But I will say, like, Warwick Davis is definitely one of the bright spots of this series. He does what he's asked to do very well. It really legitimately seems like he has fun doing it.
Yeah, he does look like that.
And I do like the way, like, I like the design of the leprechaun. He looks real gross and like he would have real bad breath and his teeth are gross. And like, it's the perfect kind of mix of practical effects, like makeup and prosthetics on him too, where like it covers up his face and makes him a gross leprechaun, but he can move. Emote.
Yeah.
Like he can express and like he can emote, and he has this whole range of expressions that he can still convey through the makeup. It's not limiting in that way. So I do give the whole series like props for that. And just like Warwick Davis, obviously he's been in a lot more quote better movies, but it does seem like he at least kind of had fun with this whole franchise, and he is very good with, like, you know, what he was given to do.
I agree with that. Definitely think that this is something he seemed to have a really good time making, and that makes it more enjoyable.
For sure. That leaves us with 2 left. And
7 is the worst.
the next one I had kind of heard is by far the worst in the whole series. And yes, I agree. I think this is by far the worst movie in the whole fucking series. And it's a doozy of a fucking kind of disaster of a fucking movie.
Shouldn't you love this one, though? Because you love wrestling and WWE.
Yes. So Leprechaun Origins, which apparently opened in select theaters on August 22nd, 2014, and then was pretty much immediately put on VOD release on August 26th, just 4 days later, and on DVD and Blu-ray, the next month, September 30th. This is directed by a guy named Zach Lipovsky. And yes, this is a WWE produced movie. And it stars, like we said, no longer Warwick Davis. And so the leprechaun in this movie is WWE superstar Dylan Postel, also known as Hornswoggle.
Or Vince McMahon's bastard child.
Boy. Yeah, that was a legitimate storyline that this guy was involved in with WWE, which really, really didn't age now and everything we know about what a fucking creep Vince McMahon is. But
Not at all.
But yes, he is famous for having a storyline in which he found out he was the illegitimate son of Vince McMahon, who was very ashamed of him. And God, what a steaming pile of garbage that story angle was.
Good God. Awful.
Much like the movie he started. Honestly, this movie, again, I had heard it was bad. I had low expectations. And what it actually ended up being, it was probably even worse than what I thought it was going to be.
One thing I did like about it, because I like to try and give a positive side, is that this one takes place in Ireland.
I do like how this one actually does take place in Ireland. That is one thing I like about it. And I will say this movie, calling itself Leprechaun Origins, it was obviously supposed to kind of be a full reboot, reset of the franchise. And I will say I don't mind what they tried to do here. I don't mind that they tried to kind of just take the comedy out of it and they wanted to make this like a real scary character. And I think for maybe the first half of the movie, maybe it does a kind of effective job of that. And you actually get some decent gore and blood, and you only see little bits of the leprechaun. You only see a weird little claw here or there. But I will say once you actually start seeing the full leprechaun, it is awful. They really shouldn't show it.
No, they made it look like a skinned baboon. Descent kind of
so
creature.
It no longer even resembles the leprechaun that everybody has an image of in their head when they hear leprechaun. Instead, this is just some fucking weird skinless creature, and I feel like you've seen variations of this creature many times in other much better horror movies. It kind of looks like the creatures from The Descent. It kind of looks like, I don't know, the fucking vampire monster from that Last Voyage of the Demeter movie that came out. It kind of looks like, I don't know, but it looks like this weird skinned demon thing, but it walks like a monkey or something, kind of. It almost walks with its front fists on the ground like a baboon or something. Fucking weird. I don't even know, man.
It looked stupid.
And there's a reason, it's really bad. It's really bad special effects. And every time they kind of show it up close even, I feel like it's really blurry camera angles, or it's moving really fast so you can't even get a clear glimpse of it because it's so fucking
such shaky, so shaky. They had that raptor scene where there's just
yeah, the movie starts out and kind of ends actually like this too, where there's people walking through this tall cornfield, and then it's like a fucking scene from Jurassic Park with the raptors, where you just see something running up to the person through the grass, and you don't know what it is, and it's all these weird almost boar noises or something that it makes.
Oh yeah, it just makes weird screeching boar noises. It doesn't talk at all. No,
See, what I thought this movie was going to be, I really thought this movie was going to be pretty much exactly what all the previous Leprechauns tried to do. And I thought they were going to try to have a talking leprechaun who speaks in rhymes and tries to trick people and stuff. But they don't the leprechaun doesn't have a single fucking, line of dialogue or anything the entire movie. It's just like weird animal noises, which kind of sucks too, because that actor Dylan Postel, like Hornswoggle from the WWE, like he can talk. Like he's actually a pretty smart and kind of funny guy. And so when I first heard that he played the Leprechaun, I'm like, oh no, I can kind of see how that would work. But like, no, they don't even let him, like, he doesn't get to say anything in the whole fucking movie because they just didn't go that way. And they tried to make it just like this weird, creepy character, and it has like predator vision. Basically, it has like leprechaun vision. You know, you see through its eyes, and it's like heat readings or whatever. God damn it, this movie is so fucking bad.
I hate it. Every character deserved to die. I did not like any of the characters. I wanted all of them gone.
Like I said, I kind of was almost on board for like the first half of the movie until I really started to realize, oh no, you're never going to hear this thing talk. It's never. Even though, like, I didn't expect it to, like, work well, and, you know, I expected it to be poorly written like all the other ones would have been, too. It's still, like, I don't know. They tried to go... I don't mind that they tried to make it into, like, a scary monster, but, man, did they ever not do it well.
I liked when they grabbed the spine out of the back and pulled that out.
That was pretty cool. And see, there is some cool good gore and kills in it. But yeah, I don't know. Like, and yeah, he eats people now, apparently. Like, the people, like, so, like, these old Irish guys that, like, they end up, it's kind of like a cabin in the woods, like, type setup from what I remember, where it has, these kids, like, backpacking around Europe or whatever, and they end up at this place that, like, these old Irish guys basically end up kind of locking them there because they know there's a leprechaun there, and it's like, they're meant to eat them?
Yeah, they're offerings. They're offerings because apparently what they did is these townsfolk mined all of the gold from the mine the leprechaun was in charge of. And so they stole all of the leprechaun's gold. So the leprechaun was pissed, and it was like, I'm going to kill all your village. And they were like, how about we give you people to eat? And so they've been trapping people in this cabin by trying to say, like, you can go see these special rocks that are so old in this cave or something.
So yeah, it's not even really necessarily about like somebody stealing the gold in this one. Like, the leprechaun apparently just eats people in this one. I'm so fucking confused by this.
It's terrible. I don't even want to exist in that world.
But again, I will say there are at least some like cool like kills and stuff. I was on board for like the first half until you just really started seeing what this creature was and how shitty it looked the whole time. But like, yeah, that spine rip out scene was pretty fucking cool. I mean, he rips out somebody's like tongue ring like at one point. That's kind of gnarly. Oh, fuck you, Lucky Charms. Yeah, that's what the lady that says right at the end to him. God, like the most cringy fucking stereotypical shit any 8-year-old could have thought of to put in this movie.
So
fuck
terrible.
You, Lucky Charms.
It was awful. Just don't watch that one.
Although the head chop that followed it was actually pretty cool looking.
Oh, that's true.
But man, this is not at all what I thought it was going to be. It was like even worse. I thought it was going to be a WWE produced Leprechaun movie, but trying to be just like the other ones. But no, they tried to be real dark and spooky, and instead just made like a whole movie that just looks like garbage too. Like it's dark and hazy, and just like the whole movie just looks like fucking shit, and it sounds like shit. And God, this movie's bad.
Nothing redeemable, to be honest.
Pretty much nothing redeemable about this one. Yeah. So. Sorry, Hornswoggle.
Yeah, just sorry.
But I guess that leads us to the very last movie of the franchise, at least for now. We'll get into this at the very end. There is a new Leprechaun movie coming out. But the last one that exists right now was Leprechaun Returns. And this movie premiered on video on demand on December 11th, 2018. It is a sci-fi movie. And so it made its TV premiere on Sci-Fi on March 17th, 2019. So at least they actually kind of nailed the around St. Patrick's Day release for fucking once with this series.
Hell yeah. And I like that there is one character in this that is an original actor and character from the first film.
Yeah. And the director of this movie, Steven Kostanski, he directed a movie that Aubrey and I actually really, really like that I know not a lot of. Well, I guess this movie has an audience. People out there do like it, but I do know some people that have watched this movie and think it's trash. But he directed a movie we really like called Psycho Goreman.
I love Psycho Goreman.
And that movie is supposed to be kind of like an ode to like kind of bad like 90s straight to video gateway
cosmic horror
kind of movies.
Yeah.
And so having that guy that directed that movie with that tone do a Leprechaun movie, it kind of makes perfect sense. And I will say the tone of this movie, it actually kind of nails what I think all the other movies were trying to go for better than them.
Yeah, because even the limericks and things that the leprechaun talks in are better. They're better formed. It's
a better written movie, I think, than a lot of the other ones. But yeah, this is a really interesting movie because it basically acts like a direct sequel to the original Leprechaun. It acts like everything after the original Leprechaun never happened.
Yeah.
And even like Aubrey said, there even is like one character, like a pretty prominent character in the movie who is one of the main characters from the original Leprechaun. The main girl in this movie, played by Taylor Spratler, she is supposed to be Jennifer Aniston's characters from Leprechaun 1. She's supposed to be her daughter in this movie. And she's going back out to that same house in North Dakota with some sorority sisters because they're going to turn that old property, which apparently still belongs to her family.
No, it got sold to the university.
Oh, it did get sold to the university?
Yeah, so the university bought it because and it is a university that is focusing on like ecology. It's like what's that science that you're doing all of the
I have no fucking clue.
Off the grid living, like
self-sustainable.
Yeah, self-sustainable stuff.
Yeah. So basically, though, this movie takes place on the property that the very original Leprechaun takes place, and the main character is supposed to be the Jennifer Aniston character's daughter, and they are making this house into like a sorority house. And so you have these sorority sisters there, and they're trying to make this like this fully self-sustainable property. They're trying to have, put up solar panels, and they have like a well there, and, they're trying to make it so they produce all their own energy, and they're completely like off the grid. And it's kind of like, and there's one of their friends there that's making like a documentary about this process, and it's like making the sorority house, I think, is supposed to be some sort of like college project they're doing at the same time.
Exactly. Yeah. It's part of their final that they're working on. It's part of the whole process, which the well is the same well that the Leprechaun was blown up in, and that's part of the story.
In the very first Leprechaun, yep. Because he comes back in this, and yeah. Again, this acts like nothing past the original Leprechaun happens. This is basically Leprechaun 2, and it does not have Warwick Davis. It does not have Hornswoggle. The guy who plays the Leprechaun in this is a Canadian actor named Lyndon Porco, and I think he does a really good job.
Yeah, I think so too. I thought he was pretty funny. His delivery was pretty good.
The movie starts with like a pretty good like if I could talk, face melt scene is what I meant to say, but it's kind of like recapping what happened at the end of the original Leprechaun, and you see him like burning up. So I like that cool face melt scene.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I like when he comes back, he obviously is like, I'm reformed, but he's like, oh, I'm more handsome.
But when he first comes back, he like comes out of a guy's like chest and stomach, like almost alien style, like his little hands and feet pop out, but then he like completely explodes out of him, and he has like intestines and entrails and stuff all around him, and there's some really fucking good gore in this movie. Actually,
this one does have some pretty good gore.
I know, like one of their solar panels they have on the roof like slides off at one point, and it like cuts a dude in half, but not like the way you normally see a guy cut in half, through his like legs or whatever. It's like cut in half from the side, and those sides fall apart, and you just see like all of his insides. Like, it's pretty fucking cool, actually. Like, I don't know. Like, I think they really did nail the tone of like the campy horror comedy of this movie better than pretty much any other movie in this whole fucking franchise.
It's kind of sad that I had to wait until the 8th one to really get with the movie that I had wanted them all to be.
Yeah. But I mean, I really like, especially after watching Leprechaun Origins, I had such like low expectations for this, but like, I actually think if I would encourage anybody to watch any of these Leprechaun movies, I would maybe tell you to watch the very first Leprechaun and then watch this one right after, and rather than watching Leprechaun 2 or anything like that, because I do think this movie made me kind of like the original Leprechaun a little better. I love the fact that it is like a sequel of it, and the girl is Jennifer Aniston's daughter.
Yeah, it made me have a different appreciation for the first one. I originally didn't really like it, and now I'm like, oh, I do kind of like it.
Yeah, but I don't know. I was really pleasantly surprised by this last Leprechaun movie, and it has a little bit of like the cabin in the woods kind of setup that we said that Leprechaun Origins also has, but it's it's done much better in this one. Like everything about this one is so much better than Leprechaun Origins. And I think this is like, if they were going to reboot the franchise and keep going with it, like I do think that was a much better place than the fucking WWE produced one.
Same. I don't think the one that is being released this year is going to have anything to do with it, though.
No, I think you're right. And what Aubrey's talking about here, and we mentioned it earlier in the podcast, that on March 15th, just a couple weeks ago here, there is an article on Fangoria.com that says, new Leprechaun movie will be funny, scary, and full of practical effects. So yes, there is going to be a 9th Leprechaun movie. There's a guy named Felipe Vargas. I can't say I'm familiar with him, but he apparently is going to direct it. And he is saying that, quote, I'm so honored to be on that project. It's such a cool franchise. To me, what makes the franchise so special is that it really is limitless. You can do so much with these scares. You can really push the boundaries with these scenes. It doesn't need to be grounded. It can just be gory, sexy, crazy. And I think you can just have fun with it.
I am kind of excited to see what somebody does when they're using those keywords, because that's what could make a really good Leprechaun movie.
So yeah, I'm not going to lie. I'm kind of happy this doesn't exist right now, and we only had to watch 8 of these and not 9. I don't know if I would have been ready for that right now, but I am kind of a completionist, and since we've gone this deep and we've seen all these fucking movies, I'll check it out once it comes out, especially because, like I said, that last one renewed my faith that these actually can be kind of fun a little bit.
Yeah, I think that going forward, I will skip quite a few of them, but I will watch some of these again.
Yeah. I mean, they're not like movies I'm going to like sit down in front of the TV and with nothing else going on because like I have to soak in the details. I have to figure it out what is going on with the Leprechaun. But as, you know, some background noise around St. Patty's Day or whatever, you could probably do worse.
Yeah, there's no depth to these.
There is no fucking depth to these. That's for sure.
I like the good surface movies sometimes, though.
Yeah, I definitely like movies you don't have to think too much about. And man, yeah, there's no brain power required for any of these fucking movies whatsoever.
I think overall, I did enjoy watching the Leprechaun series for at least a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
Yeah, I don't completely regret it. I still had fun. We got to at least, like I said, just get really high and laugh at these fucking stupid movies and, you know, revel in the brilliance of Warwick Davis. I do think Warwick Davis is actually a pretty fucking, like, brilliant actor. I actually really do like him a lot. And, like, again, he's definitely not what makes these movies fall flat. It's everything surrounding him that does.
Well, and it doesn't matter how frivolous and stupid the goal was. I set a goal and I completed it, and so I'm proud of myself.
That's right. We completed it. I really have nothing else to say about the Leprechaun movies, and I'm sorry if you wanted more exact details about the plot of these. We're not really the place for that.
No, but that's the Leprechaun.
Yeah, that's all we're going to talk about here. That's our episode for March.
I'm looking forward to April.
So April, our next movie, or I guess not movie. We're going to do 2 movies. I think we're going to do a double feature that we're going to call Meltomania.
Yes, April is the time that we start to melt. And
it's springtime. You know, we're finally, the snow is melting and coming off the mountains and flowers are starting to bloom. So what better time than to watch some good old melt movies?
Jeremy, you picked the movies this time.
Yes, I did. So for our next episode, our double feature of Melt movies is going to be Street Trash, directed by J. Michael Muro from 1987. And then from 1985, we are also going to be watching Larry Cohen's The Stuff.
How does the song go? One lick is never enough for the stuff.
Yeah, God, we shouldn't sing. But yes, one lick is never enough of the stuff. And we'll be back next month to talk a little bit more about that. If you're a first-time listener, thank you so much for checking us out. If you're coming back to us, thank you so much for coming back. We're still figuring out what the fuck we're doing, and we sound like idiots half the time, but hey, we're having fun.
Yeah, having fun, and I am an idiot.
Yeah, me too, but we're idiots together.
Yes.
Idiot power. Unite, idiots. Oh, well. All right. Well, we'll talk to you next month for Meltomania.
Bye. Waving.